I hope what it'll be is really a guide which will help everyone who's a car lover and who's coming to France to make the most of that trip. France remains the most popular tourist destination in the world, and I think the latest figure is 83 million visitors every year. So altogether there's about 200 different things which you can see and do all across the country, from the Belgian border right down to Monaco in the south, and throughout the year. And I'd say things for every budget as well. There are things that you can do which are free, and there are things that you can do where it can cost several thousand euros to take part. Yes, well, I suppose I should say there's really sort of two loves in my life. I've always loved France, and I've had the chance to live there for about 20 years now. And the other thing, I've loved cars. And you'll see quite a few of my own cars in the book, mainly V8 engine cars. There's a little clue there. And really, that was the sort of starting point for the book, because in the time that I've lived in France, I've got to visit quite a lot of the places, the events, the sites that I've described in the book. And I realised, when I was then talking to some of my friends, that there wasn't really a guide like this to help other people find the same places. So that was really what gave me the idea to produce this guide to help other people kind of discover some of the places that I've been to. As far as we know, no, there isn't any guide like this. It's quite hard actually to find this information brought together in one place, particularly in English, but even in French it's actually quite hard. You can obviously look on the internet, but to have it all in the same format and layout, and we've tried to make the information as easy to find your way through, as easy to navigate as possible. What we hope is that you'll be able to use the book perhaps when you're planning a trip to France, but also when you're actually on the ground, when you're coming to your holiday destination or perhaps driving through the country. And so we've tried to lay out the book very much like a travel guide, with sections for the different regions of France, and then different subsections within those chapters looking at museums, at shows and tours, at places where you can buy things to do with your car. And then there are lots of motorsport events. There's a section for motorsport, historic and modern. And finally there's a section on circuits where you can either see historic or modern sports car races, or you can actually get on track yourself for a track day or perhaps for a driving course. Each section of the book, each chapter, starts with a map showing you where the places are in that region, gives you an idea of how to get to them, and then for each entry, if you like, each place in the book, we've got either 1 or 2 pages, and those will give you a little introduction to what it's like to visit or take part in that event. There's practical information, so you can find out very quickly and easily extra information on this year's dates, on the cost of taking part, how to get there, all those kinds of information. And we also have lots of pictures. There's more than 500 pictures throughout the book. There are diagrams for each of the circuits that you can drive on. And all of those put a package together, I hope it'll give you a really good feel for what it's like to go along to one of those places. Well, I suppose I'd start by saying, what makes France the #1 travel destination altogether? And I think part of its secret is the variety. It's the variety of the landscapes, whether it's the sea or the mountains, it's the history of the place, it's the food. There are all those things which make coming to France great. And if you're a car enthusiast, you can enjoy all those things anyway. But then you can add on to that the variety of things that you can see. And I've tried to include in the book a range of things which will appeal to people who've got modern sports cars, who enjoy track day, or going to modern car shows or modern motorsport events, and then also a lot of things for people who love classic cars. And there are things which go back to pre-war cars, right up to what the French call young timers, or recent classics. There's just such a huge variety. Some of them are very professional, and some of them are much more events which are run by individual associations or just collectors who have built up over their lifetime a huge range of different objects and cars of every kind. And some of them, they're really quirky. I'd say at least in every chapter there's one place which will be a real surprise. Well, I hope it'll appeal to quite a wide range of people. On the one hand, certainly car enthusiasts who maybe get together in a group of friends or with a club and who'll come over specifically for one of the events in the book and make that the centre of their trip. But what I hope it'll also appeal to will be people who come over with their families. You can combine some of the events in this book with things like wine tasting. I think I've got at least 4 chateaux where you can taste wine. There are 2 or 3 Michelin-starred restaurants in the book. Sorry, no apologies for talking about food and wine. This is France. But you can also go to a whole range of things. You can go to places where there are tennis courts nearby, paintball sessions, swimming in the Mediterranean, even a flower show. There's even one car event in Paris which takes place in a garden centre. So there's lots of things which hopefully the whole family can enjoy. And finally, I'd say obviously French makes of car are pretty important in this book. So anybody who owns a Citroën or a Renault or a Peugeot or some of the other more historic makes like Bugatti or Delahaye or the sporting makes like Alpine or Matra, there are lots of places which will appeal especially to those people. Well, I guess the standout memory for everything really in a way has been the welcome I've received from the people that I've been to, and some of the people who will take you round their collections and will take any visitor around. There's a real warmth and an enthusiasm there, and I think anybody who goes out and reaches out to those organisers will also get a tremendous welcome. It's very much a passion we all share. I think for me, some of the events I've enjoyed most have been some of the big concours d'élégance, with some very stylish cars from between the wars. There's one event I love in particular, which is in La Baule, which is a seaside resort in Brittany, and that's held at night, and it's held on the racecourse. It's a real professional show. There's about 4,000 people watching it. They have professional fashion models, they have professional dancers, and they have really high-class cars. I mean, one of the winners last year that I went there came all the way from Denmark, by road as well. So I think those have been some of my highlights, and I've also enjoyed some of the big sporting events. I particularly like the Grand Prix Historique in Pau, down in the Pyrenees. I think that's a lovely setting, and it's a great circuit, and it's a circuit which has been run in that configuration for more than 70 years. It seems to be the case that there aren't guides like this for other countries either. So I think definitely, when you think of the wealth of places that there are to see to do with cars in Italy, or in Germany, or the UK as well, I think all of those could lend themselves to this kind of guide. In terms of which country or perhaps which order we should do them in, well, let us know what you'd like to see. We'd be happy to try and produce that.